All right.
We're not getting the signal.
I'm gonna right. Million. Oh, well, I guess, let's see here. Rune is online. She's around here somewhere. You want to use the computer?
Yeah, just to see that page because signal is not coming through. Only this page from time to time. Okay, now it's coming. So I changed to 1080p. It's interesting why 1080p is not coming. Okay, so...
Testing.
Can you zoom in, Jenna? To the whiteboard.
The whole internet saw you were late today.
Okay, so yeah, you can zoom out a bit. Dr. Darrin will be somewhere there in front. Okay, we'll adjust the sound. Can you...
Testing, 1, 2.
Okay. Your phone you can leave here. Yeah, okay. So there will be no interference. Okay.
Oh, I didn't know it interfered. Okay, I'll leave it there. I didn't know, microphones and cell phones didn't like each other.
Do you get sound, Jana? Do you get the sound?
Testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
Yes? Yes. Why I'm not hearing any sound here then? Just to make sure everything is fine. Wait.
The volume is down, that's why.
Ah, okay.
You want this on?
Okay. Now it's okay. The bass is hyper.
You want this on?
Okay, fine, no problem. So it works.
Yeah.
It works. So I'm going to mute this. Alright. And maybe even pause. It's not necessary to run all the time. Okay, so I think, yeah, you can proceed.
All right, so do I have to unpause it?
No, let it in your own.
Okay. So I never have to unpause this. It's going to automatically...
No, I pause it just like that. Doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to class. Let's take roll first. I think Rune is still missing. Yeah, we want to capture the whole thing,
Start recording the whole process.
All right, let's see here. Okay. Now Lynn is here. Okay. Brenda is here. May is here. Sanisa is here. Now Ray is here. Sopat and Rune. I guess she's coming, huh? All right. So let's do some announcements before we get into today's lecture. So if you look at the calendar, which is right here on Moodle, this is what we're doing until the end of the semester. Let me make this a little bit bigger for you. So today's the 23rd. We're having the demo. That's the exciting thing about today. Now, all right, the whole world saw you come in late, Rune. Everybody, millions of people, the whole planet. It is embarrassing. All right, now today we're doing the teaching demonstration. As I told you several weeks ago, this is for the purpose of applying for external ranking in Thailand, which is very important to the university. So I like everyone sitting in the front row. They got their paper and pencil out. You guys look sharp, right? Very, very sharp. No one's snoring. This is great. Okay. Of course, Rune messed it up by coming late, but that's all right. Now, so we're doing the teaching demonstration today. On Wednesday, we are going to continue with our online activities for next Wednesday and next Monday. Now, not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, May 2nd, we will have our preparation for the final exam. As you know, if you want to have an idea of what to expect for the final exams, look at the scenario analysis. The Final exam will just be a much more complicated scenario. And I will guide it because, in other words, I will guide it in that there will be 5 questions you need to respond to in relation to the situation or the scenario that you will read about. The final exam is much more structured because it's a final exam. So, you know, I have to provide more, we call it scaffolding, to make sure you have success. I did not provide that much structure for the scenario analysis because I wanted that to be as realistic as possible. Are we clear so far?
So we will have 5 questions?
It'll have 5 questions, but it doesn't matter, you know. It's just, you look at the situation and you figure out what you would do. I give you the questions to guide you to explain what you will do. That's all. So it's not like knowing the question is going to be some like extra special advantage. The questions are to kind of guide your thinking on how you can address the situation. So by answering the questions, it guides how you will address the situation. Again, I did not do that for the scenario analysis. I had you figure out what the problem was. Can you see the small difference now? All right. So if we have time also on that last day of class, or maybe during the online activities, we'll kind of have a review where you share, you know, what it was like with the online activities. Again, like I told you before, being able to teach in different environments is a very lucrative way to support yourself when you leave here. Things are not just happening inside classrooms anymore. Things are happening over the internet. And being able to figure out how to use the internet as a tool for teaching is a very practical skill. Are you guys okay? All right. So I don't know how long today's lecture will take. I'm thinking maybe 40 or 50 minutes. And so if there is still time after that, we might discuss some of the online stuff afterwards. Are we okay? All right. So one more thing I need to explain is the assignment for the online stuff. Let's see here. You can't see all this, but way down here, the reflection. If you already taught online, you need to complete this reflection. I know it's dated from the 9th, but the date doesn't matter. The point is to please do it. Again, I hope people did it already because I know you forgot. Looks like 3 people did. I think maybe 3 or 4 went that day, so maybe everybody did it. That's great. Now, for those of you who did not go last week, when we met before, I think it was Sankron, you will go starting on Wednesday. So you know who you are. And I don't think it'll be as confusing in terms of what to do now. A little bit more structure. All right. So today we're going to take a look at something that we've already looked at before, but I want to try to provide you with a little bit more details and a little bit more information on how to achieve and to accomplish it. Specifically, we're looking at writing pedagogy today. Now, somebody please tell me, what does the word pedagogy mean? Pedagogy. Come on. I mean, you know, you're going to be teachers. You got, you know, writing pedagogy, math pedagogy. You got English pedagogy. Surely you know what a pedagogy is or what pedagogy is.
Guidelines, stats, level.
Wait. You're not a freshman. You're definitely not sophomores. You mean you've been in college 2-3 years now and you don't know what pedagogy means? And you're going to be a teacher? Now imagine if you had your first job interview like tomorrow. It'd be kind of embarrassing, right? You guys are nervous. Are we live? Why is he talking like that? Okay. Now, so what does pedagogy mean? So why don't we look that up first? This is something you should have already known. I don't want to mess with the online stuff, so use your phone or something, because if I crash something, we're going to have a problem. So I'm not going to mess with that. What does the word pedagogy mean? Pedagogy. Please look it up for me. I don't want to touch the computer today. Pedagogy. So, Pat, you find it yet?
The art, science, or profession of teaching.
Teaching who?
Education.
Teaching education? Teaching children. So goji means like the study of, kind of like that. Peda means children. If you ever been to the hospital, Pediatrics. Peda. The word in the Greek, I believe, is like paidia. It means child. That's what it means. So like, for example, like in the beginning of Matthew, when Joseph takes the baby to run, they use this Greek word paidia, the child referring to Jesus. Do you understand? So pedagogy is like the study of teaching children. So for the education majors, this is what you've been doing for the past 2-3 years. Math pedagogy, reading pedagogy, writing pedagogy. That's what you've been doing. You've been studying how to teach children. Yeah, they call it methods here, but they're synonyms. Okay? Now, you haven't learned a lot about how to teach adults. For that, the correct word is andragogy. Are we okay? Andragogy. Andro means man. You know, like, the word android. That's where it comes from. Andragogy is the study of teaching adults. The TESOL students deal with that a little bit more than the education majors. Are we okay? So, as we look at today's lecture, writing pedagogy, what are we going to learn? How to teach children to write. Excellent. All right, so now you know the purpose of today's lecture. Are we okay? Let's move on. So here's the big picture. I believe there's 3 parts to this. We're going to first deal with, I believe, different types of feedback. And I'm going to focus specifically on discourse feedback versus grammatical feedback. You've had a lot more experience with the grammatical feedback than with the discourse. And I want you to see the difference and how each one plays a role in improving writing. Next, we're going to talk about process versus product writing. Hopefully the TESOL people are a little familiar with that. And lastly, we've talked about this before. I'm going to give you some tips on how you can mark a whole lot of papers quickly by having different strategies. All right. What's happening in this picture right here? Confusion. So, first they say what? Good job. Then they say what? Bad job. Then they say what? Good job. So is it a good job or a bad job? Good job. Oh, because 2 goods, right? Maybe it's an okay job, right? All right, so the student, what do you think? Are they confused or do they understand? Confused. They're confused. They don't understand what's going on. This is a very common problem when teachers, that's you, give feedback to students about their writing. Have you ever experienced this? Have you ever been this guy right here? Yes? Yes? Have you ever been the teacher? Not yet, right? But this is going to be you one day. Good job, bad job, good job. This is like, what did she say? What? Huh? That's what's going to happen. So this is what happens often. You're sitting with the teacher. You didn't quite get the grades you wanted. And the teacher says something like this. Take a second look at your paper. Have you ever heard that before? So you should ask, what am I looking for? What am I looking for? You tell me to look again. What am I looking for? I'll be honest with you. The teacher, no. Do you understand? Or they might say this. So the student is wondering, what do I need to do? What do I need to fix? What's the problem? And the teacher says, just for the second time, see if you can make it clear. Has this ever to you? Yes. Okay. What does that mean, make it clearer? I'll just, this is add for negative. What do they clear? Add to that. What do you make clearer? What is clear? Do you understand? So, again, it's teacher and you improve improvement. Oh, the second time a mirror. How do you make it? Is it dirty? Clear. Do you understand? Confusion. But sometimes it's difficult to explain what is wrong. Now, you guys have been teaching in this class for the past semester, yes? Yes. As taught each other, have you noticed what was wrong? You all been able to explain what is wrong? So, if you struggle with that, do you think other teachers struggle with that? Yes. So, what we're going to try to figure out today is, how do I explain the problem that I don't know how to explain? so forth. Let's move on. Here's a graph. I want you to and take a look at it and see if there's something wrong with it. AIU has a cafeteria. AIU has lecturers from all over the world. AIU has dormitories. AIU offers several different majors. Are there any problems with the grammar there? I hope not. Boy, I try to check it. You know, are there any problems with the grammar there? So there's nothing wrong with the grammar. So is there anything wrong with it? What's wrong with it? Too much AIU? Okay, but wait. Let's unpack that. How much is too much? One or two? So May says too much AIU. Okay, like I already asked you, how much is too much? When can I use AIU and when can I not use AIU? What are the rules? So this means you say, oh, can you look at it a second time? Can you make it clearer? What? Huh? AIU has a cafeteria. AIU has lecturers from all over the world. AIU has dormitories. AIU offers several different majors. So many main ideas? Okay. So how many main ideas are there? 5 main ideas? The whole thing is all main ideas? Okay. Now, I want you to understand something. We know something is wrong, but we don't know what it is. Do you understand? This is the kind of feedback you get. So the problem is not always grammar. That's what people think the only thing wrong with writing is the grammar. But as you can see right here, grammar's okay. There's nothing wrong with the grammar. You know, I'm pretty sure if you have a PhD in English, you might see something up there. But if you're dealing with a high school kid or junior high kid, this is not bad. Do you understand? The problem is not the grammar. Something else is wrong. But what is that something? Let's see. Okay, now there are 2 types of ways that you can assess a student's writing. The second one is grammar. I'm not going to talk a lot about that because that has been your experience for the past 20 years. So there's no reason to beat it over the bush anymore. But the one I want to focus on today is the discourse. What does the word discourse mean? Huh? You got your phone, play with it. Discourse, what does that word mean? What does the word discourse mean? Okay, written or spoken communication. In other words, there are rules for written and spoken communication. And we're not just talking about grammar. Now, up here on the board, I kind of give you a definition that applies for writing. Discourse marking is the assessment of the coherency and the cohesiveness of the writing. So you should have a question now. What should your question be, in my opinion? Huh? What is coherency? And what should be your second question? What is cohesiveness? Remember, when you want students to do something, you must define the terms, what you want them to do. So I can't just sit up here and say, oh, discourse marking is just checking the coherency and the cohesiveness. That's vague and unclear. What is coherency? What is cohesiveness? Are we okay? We're going to find out in a second. And this is the second way to mark. And what's that? Grammatical. Checking the full stops. Checking the hyphens. Right? You know, we're doing our exam defense. And we got the feedback from the external. And I used the word on campus. Notice that giant hyphen. And whoever this guy is, whatever university, I guess he was bored. Hey, can you remove the hyphen? I'm like, dude, really? How did you catch that? You know, because he was focused on grammar. Focus on grammar. Most of the time when we mark, we focus on grammar. Now, before I go on, can I ask you a question? Why do we focus on grammar so much? You taught them that way. So our ancestors, right? You know, what else? Why do we focus on grammar so much?
Change of meaning.
Confuses the meaning? Oh, I guess that's possible. Yeah. Any other reasons? So the meaning. What else? Well, this is kind of wet. We focus on the grammar because it's the easiest to mark. There's nothing mysterious if you forgot to put the period. There's nothing hard if you put a question mark instead of a period, or a period instead of a question mark. It's very obvious if you misspell a word. So my point is this: we focus on grammar because it's easy. It takes less effort than to focus on the discourse. Do you understand? This is why when you get your papers back, they're covered in red, you know, like motorbike accident, you know, several people, you're injured and one person died or something. Because it's the easiest to mark. And it's often we call it objective. Whereas trying to fix the discourse can be very subjective. It's obvious that when I was put on campus, it was wrong. Because I guess on campus was like, I don't know, a verb instead of a noun or something, whatever. But this is why he caught it. It was obviously wrong. But when it comes to assessing the quality of a paragraph, people cannot do that. They just say, can you look at it again? Can you look at it a second time? Can you make it clearer? You get that kind of vague feedback. All right, let's move on. Here we go. We're going to focus on discourse, and what's our first term? Coherency. So we're going to figure out, what does coherency mean? Let's move on. All right. What's happening with this guy? He looks confused. All right, so coherent. What does that mean? Now, you took a class probably when you were a freshman. Some of you are, alumni of that class when I taught it. Approaches to reading. Do we talk about main ideas? Yes. Do we talk about points, main points? Yes. Yes. So the coherency has to do with checking those kind of things. All right. It has to do with checking how the student structures their main ideas and their supporting details. Are we okay so far? So this is discourse. This is not grammar. So when you as a writing teacher are teaching writing, you want to check that every paragraph has a main idea with supporting details. If you don't have a main idea, this is when your writing becomes unclear. Do you understand? Your writing becomes unclear when you don't have main ideas, when you don't tell the reader exactly what you think. Are we okay? What students do is they just write, and they have no purpose. You must guide them to have main ideas, to have a sense of structure to the supporting details. And I'm going to talk about this in a minute, but we talk about list paragraph, compare and contrast paragraph, cause and effect paragraph. Students don't know that there are different types of paragraphs. They don't know that there's different ways to structure your supporting details. This is why the writing is unclear. In addition to not knowing how to spell, how to do subject, verb, object, and all that grammatical stuff. Are you awake? All right. In academic writing, all I know is academic writing. I don't do fiction, I don't do poetry or any of that other stuff. I just do academic writing. In academic writing, each paragraph must have what? One main idea. And how many supporting details? 2 to 4. Are we okay so far? This is what we call checking the discourse of the paragraph. This is what we call checking the coherency of the paragraph. And people don't do this. How many times, and be honest, how many times have you written a paper and on one page it's just one paragraph? Shoo, 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 shoo. The whole thing. Have you ever done that? No. Yeah, come on, Sopa. I read your writing. Come on. Come on. I read your writing. Yes. You know what the problem is? Too many what? Too many supporting details. And so I go to Sopot and say, Sopot, can you check this a second time? Teacher, what's wrong? Oh, I don't know. Just make it clearer. And then Sopot's like, this guy's not fair. He took off all these points because I'm not clear. What's not clear? Because even the teachers don't know this. They can identify the problem, but they don't know how to articulate what the problem is. And so what do? I don't talk about the discourse. I just, oh, you misspelled this word. Oh, get rid of the hyphen, Sopat. What's your problem? Oh, you misspelled this. Oh, this is very weak writing, Sopat. Oh, Sopat, I focus on grammar because that's easier. And so Sopat gets perfect grammar, but he gets imperfect communication. Do you understand? It's beautiful, but it's like it doesn't make sense. Like all the words are perfect. He put all the periods in there. Wow, look at the beautiful use of the hyphen. This is amazing. Wow, look at the subject, verb, object. Woo! But does it make sense? It's not clear. Can you make it clearer? Do you understand? All right, here we go. Discourse marking continuing. Now, I want you to take a second look at this paragraph. And maybe now you're beginning to see what the problem is with the paragraph. AIU has a cafeteria, AIU has lecturers from all over the world, AIU has dormitories, AIU offers several different majors. What do you think is missing? Okay, we have two voices here. Either it's missing a main idea or it's missing supporting details. Now you have to ask yourself a question. Which is easier to fix? To add one main idea or to break this apart and have several different paragraphs? Add a main idea. And so what I tell Sopat, this paragraph does not have a main idea. Why are all these details together? What is uniting them? What do they have in common, Sopat? Do you see now? Is it starting to click? So the problem here is not grammar. The problem here is the communication. There's no main idea. There's no point. Sopat, what's the point? Why are you telling me this? Why is this here? That's what the main ideal does. It tells you what the point is. Are you guys awake? Are you okay? All right. So now you know what's wrong. This is why the teacher says, can you look at this again? Can you make this clearer? Just look at it one more time. You understand? And so you know what really happens? You don't really change anything, and the teacher just gives up, giving you feedback. Okay, I guess it's a B. I'll just give him some points. He tried his hardest. Do you understand? He had a good attitude. Do you understand? That's what happens. But the problem is that there was a breakdown in the communication. He didn't tell you why this stuff is together in one paragraph. Are you guys okay? All right, let's move on. All right, now, I think I fixed it. Here's my main idea. There are several what? Cool things about AIU. AIU has a cafeteria. Is that cool? Yeah. Okay, right. AIU has lectures from all over the world. Is that cool? Yeah. All right. AIU offers several different majors. Is that cool? Yeah. Now, this is why these details are together. They're all examples of how AIU is what? Cool. Do you understand? Yeah. Do you understand how this works? Yeah. Most people cannot do this. Whether it's as a student or as a teacher. I've been here long enough to know. Instead, when we say, I think you shouldn't use the acronym. I think you should spell this out. And, maybe you shouldn't use several. Maybe you should use the word various. They give you that kind of nonsense. And you're just flipping stuff around for no purpose. When the problem is there was no point. Now there's a point. I know what Sopat thinks. He thinks AIU is cool for several reasons. Do you understand? All right, let's move on, shall we? Okay, main ideas. Why are main ideas missing? So I want to try to explain to you why students often do not include main ideas. This is normally not so much of a problem in America. All right, so this is my opinion. We don't have to agree on this, all right? Okay, see if you can follow my logic here. No main idea means what? No opinion that is shared. All right? So if you don't put the main idea, you never told the reader what you think. And there are several advantages to that in this part of the world. Follow me. No opinion means what? No opinion means what you said can be interpreted many different ways. Do you understand? So if I don't tell you AIU is cool, You don't know. And so since you don't know what I think, I never offended you. I never made anybody mad, right? If I say, oh man, I hate the cat food. Dude, man, shh, don't talk like that. Do you understand? But if I say, you know, maybe too salty. You know, this is not, I don't know. You understand? By doing that indirect stuff, you don't know exactly what I think. All right. So what happens when you share a bunch of details? Oh, so you think AIU is cool, huh? No, that's not what I meant. I just said they have a cafeteria. I just said they have dormitories. I didn't say that it was cool. No, that's not true. You understand? You might be thinking that, but you didn't say it. You just gave out a bunch of details. You gave out a bunch of details. Now, the problem is this. You carry that habit into your writing. But see, here's the thing. Writing must be clear. It cannot be that fuzzy, indirect stuff, because then the reader gets very frustrated. What are you trying to tell me? Is AIU good or bad? You understand? That's what's happening. Now, my last point. When you don't share a main idea, when you just give a bunch of details, people can interpret or people can understand what you meant many different ways. And there's no conflict. So I think AIU is cool, but I don't want anybody to know. I don't like offend anybody. So I just say something like, let me see if I can go back here. Where are you? Come on. I just say AIU has cafeteria, AIU has lecturers, AIU. So you like AIU? No, I didn't say that. No. I just said they have teachers. So then you say, so you don't like AIU? No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I just said that AIU has different majors. You see how you can dance when you never share a main idea? You can dance forever. So if people hate it, you can say, yeah, okay, yeah. You can say, oh, I go along with them. If people love it, you can just go along with them. But that's appropriate talking to people, but it is not appropriate when writing to people. All right, let's go back here. Sorry about that. All right, here we go. All right, just about here. Okay, let's move on. All right, so what's this finger doing? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Like, it's so aggressive, right? Like, maybe you're feeling like nervous. But here's my point. In Western academic writing, it demands coherency. In other words, academic writing from the viewpoint of the West requires main ideas. You must say exactly what you mean. Your students must share exactly what they mean because there's no body language to try to figure out what you really mean. If someone says, AIU has dormitories, AIU has teachers from all over the world, AIU, oh, so you like AIU. Okay, yeah, I like, but that's because of my body language. That's because of the way I said it. All those things, those unwritten things, you can catch those. But on paper, all that is missing. This is why when your teacher read it, so why is this here? Well, what's the point? Could you make this clearer? Back to my original joke, right? Can you make this clearer? Huh? All right. Now, remember this. Students, they can speak indirectly. So we're not trying to change the world here, all right? You can speak indirectly, but you must write directly. Otherwise, we'll have no idea what you're talking about. Speak indirectly, that's your business. But if you're going to write for a teacher, if you're going to write for a professional setting, if you're going to write for a blog, you write directly. Otherwise, we have no idea what you're talking about. I don't remember the statistics exactly, but I've heard like 70% of all communication is through body language. But the problem is when you're writing, like I've already said, there is no body language. So you must be direct. There's no way to get around it. You can say, yeah, whatever, and people can, read the body language. But no body language, you must be direct. And this is why you have to, as a teacher, share this with your students. Okay, we're going to cohesiveness now. Cohesive, what does cohesiveness mean again? Cohesive, what does that mean? You guys, what does co mean?
Together.
Together. What does adhesive mean? Is that a word?
Together.
Cohesive means stick together. So when we talk about cohesiveness, we're talking about how the main idea and how the supporting details are glued together. You see my little picture over here? These guys are cohesive. You see how they're all connected together? All right. Cohesiveness is the way of connecting the main idea and the supporting details. But it's broader than just the paragraph. When we talk about cohesiveness, we're talking about the entire paper. How the introduction is related to the body, how the body is connected to the conclusion, etc. That's what we're doing. So if you remember from Approaches to Reading, which is again the most valuable class in the entire program, in my opinion, you talked about writing patterns. Do you remember that? Yes? No? We got some of my alumni here, Nalin, Rune. Come on, you're live. Sonisa, you were in that class too. Wait, Brenda, you were in that class also. Wait, May was there too. Even Sopot. Yeah, you were there. Everyone except Nal Ray. Okay, so give me some of the different types of writing patterns. Bullet. No. We never talked about bullet. Yes, we talked about definition. We talked about example. Instead of bullets, I think what Brenda meant was list. List paragraph, yes. What else? Cause and effect. I'll just call that CE for short. General sense is for interpreting the different unknown words. We don't have to remember all of them. The point is, when you're talking about writing pattern, you're talking about the cohesiveness. That's what it is. So you can put like the order, sequence. So sequence. Problem solution was another one, not as common. All right, that is what it is. So again, sometimes the order of the details matters. We call that sequence. Sometimes, if it's cause and effect, there's a certain order. Students don't know this. Sometimes teachers don't know this. I mean, teachers know what cause and effect is, but when they're reading your paper, they don't know that you're trying to express cause and effect. So then they don't know how to give you the feedback to fix it. Do you understand what I'm saying? This is very, very common. And so sometimes when I'm dealing with a student and a paragraph or a section doesn't make sense, I'll say, so what were you trying to tell me here? Oh, well, I wanted to show the steps for how to do something. So in my mind, ding, 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 sequence. Okay, so what's the first step? Oh, the first step is here. So why don't you call that first? And then where's the second step? So call that second. Do you understand? Because I understand discourse marking, because I understand cohesiveness, I'm able to provide not just grammatical support, but support for actually making it clearer. Do you understand? All right. Oops. So here are some examples from that class. You got compare and contrast, example, sequence. These are the words that you use. So if you want to contrast, use however. Everything after however is the opposite of what came before it. This should be review for you. Example, these are the words you use in the sentence. Sequence, first, second, third. Cause and effect, therefore, so, since, etc., etc., etc. That is how you shape the writing. These are the tools that you need when you try to help a student with their writing. So I hope you kept that book from that class, Jenna Elder, Exercising Your College Reading Skills. Because before someone can read something, they have to first write it. All tools toward writing, and you're writing. Do you understand? All right, let's move on, shall we? Yes.
I'm not sure with the one you connect the main idea.
Yes, I have an example right here. Let me show you the example. This is my cleaned up paragraph of the AIU one. Oh, is that it? No, that's the next one. Okay, here we go. There are several things about AIU. What did I put here? For example, AIU has a criteria. What did I put here? In addition. So I'm giving you another example to support my main idea. Are we okay? They, did I use AIU or did I use a pronoun now? Pronoun. I used a pronoun. In addition, they also have lecturers from all over the world. The school, I didn't say AIU. I used a different pronoun again. The school has dormitories. And what is this? Lastly, this is my third example. Lastly, AIU offers several different majors. This is native now. It's clear and it flows very neatly. And we didn't change any grammar. We didn't fix any misspelled words. We didn't cross out any improper use of plural. We didn't add or anything. We focused on the discourse. We focused on making it clearer. Are we okay? Oh, wait. So I jumped ahead because I was trying to fix something that Sanisa had a question about. But so at first what I wanted to do was this. Come on, wake up. So this was our paragraph, and I was going to have you fix the different things. So in other words, I want to ask you something now. What type of paragraph is this? Is it list, cause and effect? Is it sequence? Is it example? It's a definition? What is it? You can say example. I don't see. You can say example or you can say list, because it doesn't matter what order I put these in. So list or example. So remember, a paragraph can be more than one writing pattern because all our minds work differently. Excuse me. Are there any questions on this? So now I want to ask you, why is cohesiveness missing? So why do you think students don't quite know what they're trying to do? Why don't we get some comments from the audience? We'll pass the mic around, right? You know, huh? Why is cohesiveness missing, in your opinion?
Lack of broad knowledge.
Lack of broad knowledge. We're getting somewhere. All right. Now, Ray, what do you think?
Maybe they think they will know without making it without connecting the word, the video will know it.
Okay. They think they know? All right. Here's one of my main reasons. What's the first reason up there on the board?
English is not the first language.
Okay, you guys have all met people who speak your language poorly, right? You've all experienced that. And what's normally missing? It's those little things, right? Those little things that make it. So a lot of times dealing with cohesiveness, it's those little things that make it clearer. Again, if we go back to the example, let's see here. If we go back to the example here, oh, that's not the one I want. I want this one. Again, for example, you don't need that for the sentence to survive, but it helps a little bit more to make it clearer. I know why this sentence is here. It is a what? It's an example. If I remove that, the sentence still makes sense, but it's not as clear why it is in the paragraph. Do you understand? Again, going right here. If I remove in addition and all this, the sentence still makes sense. But I know now why the sentence is there. In addition, it's a second example. It's these little things. This is where you go from knowing the language to being native. Cohesiveness has a lot to do with native speaking. These little things, you'll probably never figure them out. Do you understand? A student will never quite figure these out because you don't need them to communicate. But if you can figure out a way to put them in there, it becomes much clearer. It has much better, here's another vague term for you, much better flow, if that makes any sense to you. It flows better because not only do I have a main idea, but these little words right here tell me why every sentence is there. Are you guys okay? So English is not the first language. Now, when I talk about these things, if I'm dealing with a native speaker, no problem to either add them or they are already there naturally. All right, so what's happening in this picture? Construction. All right, and so what are they doing here first? Okay, now let me see if my analogy here can make sense. Discourse, the structuring ideas, supporting details, cohesive this. Like walls and the foundation, putting the roof on. In other words, it's the most important. Grammar is like, painting the walls, putting the furniture in, screwing down the toilet, you understand, putting the car down. It is important after the foundation, the walls, and the roof of the main ideal and the supporting details is laid. But what we normally do is we make the grammar the foundation. Grammar is everything. And that's backwards. Grammar is critical after the house is built. I mean, what would you rather have? Beautiful paint and no floor? Or would you rather have a floor and maybe paint later?
Floor.
All right. You'd rather have a floor, you'd rather have a roof. I would love to have a bed, but please give me a roof first. Do you understand? I'll get the bed later. And so you have to keep that in mind that when you are trying to guide students writing, the discourse is the king and the grammar serves the discourse. The grammar serves the discourse. It is important in a secondary, and it is not the preeminent number one thing. So as a teacher, as you're helping students, or even as a student now, you should focus on the discourse before the grammar. That's critical. There's no point having beautiful, perfect grammar if you're not really saying anything. All right. Okay. So maybe you're wondering, all right, grammar is important, so when do I worry about grammar? I'll tell you right now. In my opinion, these are two times when grammar matters. Number one, going for what? Going for points. So if you have to submit an assignment, you better make sure you have the grammar fixed, because that is important to the teachers. You know you guys love grammar. But there's a second time when grammar matters. Going what? Going public. If you're going to put it online, if you're going to share it with a friend, that is when grammar matters again. Grammar does not matter when you are alone. When you are writing yourself or doing rough draft revising, doesn't matter. Let me see if I can add an illustration. All right. Here, discourse. And can I see a book there underneath? Here's another thing. Grammar. All right. So I'm trying to do these two things. Let's say I'm writing in the teacher, work on your discourse. Work on your grammar. Okay. And he says, work on your research methods also, your methodology. Oh man, I don't have any more books. Okay. How am I doing? Oh yeah, don't forget data analysis. Oh, all right. No, on the elbow. Okay. All right. I got it. All right. You see? You see what happens? When you focus on too many things, you get nothing done. Okay. I don't know whose book is who. That yours?
Yes.
Okay. You just have the plastic thing on it? Okay. Whose book is this then? This is yours? Yes. That's what happens. When you focus on too many things, you can't get it done. That's why when you are writing, you focus first on the discourse. When you have completed the writing, you focus on the grammar. But what students do is they're focusing on the grammar, they're focusing on the discourse, they're trying to analyze the data. And what happens when you open like 5 programs on your cell phone at the same time? If you have a really old phone, they'll just cut off. You gotta like press the power button again. You understand? That's what happens. So you have to make sure that as you deal with students, that you help them see. You tell them, don't worry about grammar. I just want you to write. Get your ideas down. We'll fix it later. You know, even you guys, if I tell you that, what? What? No, don't worry about it right now. When we get to the final draft, we'll paint the house. Don't put the windows up now. They'll get broken. You understand? Focus on the foundation. Put the walls up first. Please put a roof on the place first. And then we will fix the other stuff later. Do you understand? And so once they get through with the writing, okay, the paper's due next week, check the grammar. Do you understand? That's what's happening. And so as I go through this, I do this over and over again. So I think now I'm going to move on to, here we go. So here's my example. I just did this for you, right? He's trying to do too many things at once, multitasking. Let me repeat this for you because it's very important. Main ideas and supporting details are the what? Foundation and what? Roof of the paper. These are more important. Grammar is the interior decoration, the paint, the tile, the furniture, whatever you want to call it. Grammar, the main idea and supporting detail is the minimum. Grammar makes the paper nice. Just like, you know, it's nice to have a bed. It's nice to have a dresser. It's nice to have a desk. But man, it's sure great to have a roof. It sure is great to have, you know, walls. Man, you know, it's very nice to have a front door. You understand? Doing both at the same time is a disaster. Most people do this. You've been doing this for 3-4 years now. So this is why your papers are not clear. I mean, if I showed you my writing, my secret writing at home, be like, what are all those red lines there on your Microsoft Word? This is not public. You know, when I publish it, it has half as many red lines. You know, I mean, I catch some of it, you know, but this is because my viewpoint is different. I'm a practitioner. In other words, I don't focus so much on the theoretical aspects of the English language. You know, I know how to write articles. I know how to write books. I don't worry as much about the grammar. I practice it. Do you understand? So my viewpoint is a little bit radical because I'm more into the doing of it than having all the details perfected. Okay, fix it together. Take a look at this. This is a more college level example. See if you can figure out how we can improve this. So this is more of a high school or a college level example. Smith found that alcohol use damages the liver. Jones found that alcohol consumption can disrupt the function of the brain. Alcohol use has also been found to affect the social relationships of people. Jefferson has called for an increase in spending on the effects of alcohol and, that's a typo there, sorry, and the health of people. Now, we're not focusing on grammar. I've been attacking grammar for the past 50 minutes, right? So you know the problem is not grammar. What do we need to do with the discourse?
Main idea.
So I need a main idea. Excellent. So that takes care of the, I believe that's the coherency. I need a main idea. What about the cohesiveness? What else do I need?
Example.
I don't need examples. I have to determine what? My writing pattern. So there are basically two things you need to walk away with. Help your students with their main ideas. That is coherency for the most part. If I have to make this as simple as possible. Help your students with their writing pattern. That is the cohesiveness. Are you guys with me? Again, you know I don't care about the spelling. Microsoft Word will catch it. You understand? Do you understand? Now, I think I have another example here. All right. Oh, I didn't put it up there. So I forgot to. Oh, well, that's okay. Okay, so I might say there are several studies that talk about the negative effects of alcohol. That would be my main idea. And I would say, you know, for example, Jones found this. In addition, alcohol use has been blah, blah, blah. Lastly, Jefferson, do you see how you tie it all together? Let me do it in front of you so that I don't confuse anybody. I like to go too fast. Okay, so this is how I would deal with this. I'm not saying this is the only way. Several studies indicate the danger of alcohol use. Smith found that alcohol use damages the brain. Then I might say, you know, in addition, is everybody okay? Jones found that alcohol consumption is this. And then I might say, lastly, Jefferson, blah, blah, blah. You see how I did that? One new sentence and a handful of phrases, and it is now clearer. Now, the way I fixed it, is this the only way to fix it?
No.
No. Please remember that. The point is to address it. The point is to be aware of it. But how to do it is up to you. Do you understand? Again, I primarily do academic writing. So this is what I focus on. Academic writing, the first sentence is always the main idea. Because like I told you when you were a freshman, Western scholars like to know where they are going. If you just talk, they're going to say, why are you talking to me? What's the point? I ask my wife that all the time. She's from your guys' neighborhood. Why are you talking to me? What's the point? Why are you saying that? I have to constantly try to encourage her to include a main idea when she talks to me. Hey, so what? Well, why are you telling me this? What's the point? You understand? Because the methods of communicating are different. But thanks to taking approaches to reading, I know what the problem is. No main idea. All right, now we're almost done. I hope you're not tired. You know, I still have 20 minutes at least. You know, no one fell asleep today. I wonder why. Okay, well, that's good. Writing as a process or a product. Now, how you view writing affects how you write. How you view writing also affects how you teach it. Do you understand? So we're going to look at how writing can be viewed as a process and or as a product. So process feedback, looking at writing as a process. But let me make sure you guys understand, what do we mean when we talk about writing as a process? What is a process? Steps. Steps. So I don't remember all the rules, but you know, you start with brainstorming. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
And then you get resources.
Yes.
And then you write a rough draft.
Yes.
And then at the rough draft stage, you get, you know, peer editing or self-editing, whatever. And then you make another rough draft. Does this sound familiar?
Yeah.
And then you go back to the peer editing, self-editing. Then you make another rough draft. And then finally, you get to the final draft. This is writing as a product. In other words, there is continuous feedback through the experience. That's what makes it a process. Now, listen. Have you ever had to write a paper anywhere in your life where there was no feedback? It was just due in a month. It was due at the end of the semester, and you were on your own. Has it ever happened to you?
Yes.
Okay, that is writing as a product. Writing as a product. So let's take a closer look at process feedback. So when you see writing as a process, you were trying to help students to develop what? Main ideas and what else? Because this is what? This is why you get feedback. You want to empower their coherency. You want to empower their cohesiveness. Focus on what? Organization, which is also known as? Are we okay so far still? This is the kind of feedback. It's a process experience. Process, over and over and over. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Back to step 3. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Okay, go to step 4. Back to step 3. Go to step 4. That's what it is. And what else do you do? Several revisions of the paper. This is writing as a process. And so through this process, you learn what your strengths and weaknesses are as a writer because you're getting constant feedback. This is how it needs to be done often. You know, even at the highest level of academics, dissertation, at the PhD level, it's a process. Constant feedback. You know, you would think at the dissertation level, at the PhD level, just product. You already know what to do, just get it done. No, we do it the opposite. The higher you go, the more feedback you get. It's kind of weird, when it should be the other way around. The freshmen should get the most feedback, but a lot of times it's like, okay, you know, your book report is due in 3 weeks. You guys know what to do. What? What? You understand? But then if you get to PhD, you meet with your advisor like every week. You know, Darrin, I don't know if I like what you said in this paragraph. Oh, man, like, so what? You know, it's like, just leave me alone, you know. But it's backwards. The freshmen should get that. The PhD students should be, just go write something and come back in 6 months. You understand? All right. Okay, grading is based on what? Progress. In other words, you compare the student from their first draft to their final draft. That is writing as a process. So the comparison is based on how they grew and not on some sort of like rubric or absolute standard. It's fuzzier, but that is how you view writing as a process. Again, most of the time we don't do this. Are there any questions on process feedback? This is how you make process writing. Focus on ideas, focus on organization, revision, help them to discover their strengths and weaknesses. Can I ask you a question? Do you know what your strengths and weaknesses as a writer are yet?
Yeah.
Really, you do? Sopa, you want to share? Grammar. You know why? Because that's all the feedback you get is grammar. Room, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses? You don't know, yeah. No feedback for her. All product. Brenda, what are some of your strengths and weaknesses as a writer?
Weakness is organization.
Did you know that before or after this class?
Before.
Before, okay. So, organization, all right? But see, Brenda's a little bit more experienced, you know. Okay, you know, you're not old, but you know, you're not 21. Okay, May, you're older. What are some of your strengths and weaknesses as a writer?
I have the ability to like speak out the supporting details, but I cannot.
Can't put it down on paper.
I cannot come up with a main idea.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, now, did you already know that, or did you learn that today?
During your class.
Oh, see, yeah. So again, when writing is a process, you learn what your strengths and weaknesses are. And through support from the teacher, you're able to take advantage of your strengths and minimize your weaknesses. That's how it is. Now, one last thing on this page, we talk about relative versus absolute grading. Now, do you guys know what that is? Relative versus absolute grading. What does relative mean? Relative means it depends. It depends. So when relative grading is done, you are compared to yourself or you are compared to the progress of other students in the class. Another word for relative grading is grading on a curve. Have you ever heard that term before? Grading on a curve. So whoever got the highest score, let's say it was originally out of 100 points. Whoever got the highest score, if it was 89, this becomes 100 now. Have you heard of this before? Where the highest grade in the class becomes the new A? That's relative grading. Because success depends on how well your peers do. If the highest grade is 60, you just got a blessing. You understand? Everyone's going to do better. That's relative grading. Absolute is 100 is 100. If you got 80, I guess that's still an A here. But in America, that's a B. If the grade is out of 100 and you got 70, well, that's a C here. You understand how it's absolute? It doesn't change. I don't care how Roon did compared to Sopot. It doesn't move. That's absolute grading. Are we okay?
So,
Yes.
but the grading one, like, in here you said we will give them like from first paper to the final, right?
Yes.
But they're still in the process of learning. How can you give them?
Well, when they're done, when they finally submit the final draft. So there's still a product in a process writing, but the focus is not on the product. The focus is on this. And so you compare their first draft with their final draft, and that's relative grading because you're comparing themselves to themselves as they grew.
You
how well they improved. Because you look at the rough draft, oh man, this is a mess. You look at the final draft, wow, this is great work. So this is an A for this person because they grew so much. But if you look at someone else, the rough draft is okay, their final draft is okay. This guy didn't grow that much, B. You understand? It's very relative. But again, when you look at it from a process perspective, you're focused on individual growth and not so much on the grade. Again, this is more common in the West, where we're focused more on the development rather than on the product. You understand? I want to see what is the best Sanisa can do. And I'm not going to worry about comparing Sanisa to an absolute standard. I don't care about that. What is the most that she can do? What is excellent for Sanisa? Because Sanisa's A is different from Nare's A. Different student, different standard. That's relative grading. Again, I'm not trying to encourage this. I'm just saying I'm trying to show you a perspective, a viewpoint on how to assess students' writing. Shall we move on? Uh-oh. Okay, product feedback. This is something you're much more familiar with. Focus only on the what? So I don't care how you grow. I don't care what problems you have. Just make sure your last paper is perfect. Have you ever experienced that? Doesn't matter. This is more common, in non-writing classes. Most writing classes have process. Non-writing classes, product. Introduction to business. Okay, you guys will have a paper at the end of the semester. If you have any questions, come to my office. Do what? How do I do it? Oh, you're a student. You can figure it out. You guys are professionals. Professional what? I don't get paid for this. I'm paying you. What is this? You're the professional. Help me out. Okay. So the teacher sets expectations for vocabulary, organization, and grammar. Now, when you take that non-writing class, they almost always give you a rubric. Yes. Okay, this is what you must include in your paper. Okay, dude, but how do I include it? Oh, you can figure it out. If you have any questions, come to my office. Where is this office? Okay. The standard is what? Absolute. So I'm going to mark you according to the rubric. Oh, are you going to check our rough drafts? No. You guys will be okay. Just do the best you can do and make sure it's clear. Oh, man, that word again, clear. Man, what does that mean, clear? Do you see the anxiety? Now, what happens when students don't know what to do? What do? No, they start to cheat. They start to copy. That's where it comes from. Encourages what? Plagiarism. Because there's no feedback, you take the perfect stuff from the internet. Because, I don't know, is this right or wrong? I know Wikipedia is always right. Click, 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 put it there. I know Wikipedia is right. Ooh, wow, that looks like good English. Click, 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 right? This is what happens when you focus on product. It encourages plagiarism. I get less plagiarism because I focus on process. I'm not saying that nobody ever copies or cheats in my class, but it's not as common because they know that they're getting constant, continuous feedback during the learning experience. And so I'll say, this is not clear. Can you fix that? No, I don't say this is not clear. I say, you forgot the main idea, right? You forgot this, you forgot that. You need to add this. And so they start to calm down and they focus on writing rather than focusing on points. I've been telling my students in my research class, I said, look, you guys, don't worry about the points. Worry about being able to understand and do this. When they stop worrying about the points, they start to learn. But if I always hold over them this product, like your paper's due tomorrow, this is what happens. Because what do you do when the fight's not fair? You find some way to equalize it. You get a bat, you get a knife, you get a gun, whatever it takes to survive. And so for students on campus in an academic setting, plagiarism is what they do to try to make it equal and fair for them. Because they believe they're at a disadvantage because they don't know exactly what to do. Are we okay? All right. I think I'm almost done here. Now, there's one more thing I want to mention. Students need to master the process before they can what? On the product. You must first learn what to do before you can perfect it. Let me give you a practical example. We teach our kids at home, as many of you know, and right now my daughter is learning spelling. And so the book is kind of different. I've never quite experienced this as a teacher. One of the things you have to do as the teacher is dictation. So I read the sentence out loud to my daughter, and she has to write it down. Now, I'm a teacher, and I'm focused on process. So I'm not too worried about how accurate she is. I just want her to learn how to listen and write something down. We can fix the spelling later. My wife is focused on product. So if little Jin Chana doesn't get 100%, she's upset. I'm like, she's 7 years old. What's the big deal? You know, it's like my example here with the books earlier. You know, she's trying to listen. She's trying to write. She's trying to, spell correctly, do the grammar. Do you understand how she's getting overwhelmed? And so right now, what I want her to do is this. Just listen. And then once she masters listening, just listen and write something down. And then once she masters listening and writing something down, just listen, write something down, and spell. Do you see how you take the product and break it into several steps? All right, whose book is this? Is this one yours? Okay, whose book is this? This is one of yours. And so this is what you need to do. As a teacher, you look at the big picture, and you focus on one piece at a time until they master it. So I tell my wife, look, it doesn't matter how well she spells right now. Just let her practice the process. When it gets better, you take it to the next step. What does the parable say? First the seed, then the ear, finally the whole grain. Have you ever heard that parable before about the corn? So at each step, the plant is perfect. And when the plant is fully mature, that's when you get the fruit. Are you guys with me? So to give you a practical example here on campus, when I teach research methods, you remember that class? Scary, huh? Statistics, research. So do I harass you about grammar? No, because I don't want your hard drive to crash. You understand? I don't want your computer to explode. I say focus on the writing. The purpose here is to learn how to do research, to learn how to actually look at something and to study it scientifically. We can fix the grammar later. Do you understand? And so by having you remove all those distractions, because they're not important right now, you focus on understanding how to do the actual project. That's on purpose. And so by focusing on that, you go through it. You go through it. So again, I could have you write one paper in that class, but that's only going through the process one time. One paper means I'm focused on a product, but I don't care about the product in research. I care about the process. That's why you write 4 papers. Go through it again. Go through it again. Go through it again. Each time is easier. That's the reason. Process, process, process. Now, hopefully you're comfortable, although you probably forgot everything. Hopefully you're comfortable. And so now when senior project comes, all right, now let's get serious. Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, I did that before. Yeah. Now you can focus on product. Do you understand? Senior project, there's 1 paper. Sophomore research, there's 4. Do you see what's happening here? Because sophomore is process. Senior is product. Are you guys okay? All right. So students need to master the process before they can focus on the product. And so what do we have here? Practice and patience lead to mastery. Practicing is the process. Ideas need to flow before grammar. You must put what you're trying to do on paper before you worry about the full stops. Full stops matter at the end, before you try to sell the house, okay, right? I mean, nobody wants to buy a house without paint on it. Nobody wants to buy a house that doesn't have tile on the ground. But if you put the tile down first, what's the point? People definitely don't want a house without walls. You're really going to have a hard time selling that. Yeah, this is the house. Where are the walls at? Oh, you know, we put the tile down. You see the tile? You see the tile right there? Wait, dude, wait, where's the carpet at? Oh, no. I mean, where's the roof at? Oh, no, do you see that carpet over there? That's backwards. Okay, now I've talked about this. This is our last section for today, and I think we'll be done. We got about 5 minutes. Marking. I've already mentioned this before. This is in our textbook, Harmer, Helping Many Students. So selective marking, can you please tell me what selective marking is? What was that? Not quite. Choosing one or two things to focus on when you provide feedback. So again, in research class, I focus on the methodology. I focus on the data analysis. The grammar is secondary because I don't want to, there's an idiom we have in English. Don't major in minors. Have you ever heard that before? And so grammar is important, but it's secondary to being able to actually conduct and perform the research aspect of the paper. Being able to communicate clearly what your methodology is. I need to focus on that first. And so that's my primary goal. By doing that, I'm able to mark papers fast. If you remember that class, we would sit together. I would look at everybody's paper in one period. Remember that? It's because of selective marking. I'm focusing on your ability to articulate a research experience. I'm not checking for the commas. I'll never finish if I check the commas. You'll never get feedback, and if you don't get feedback, you'll never grow. So what's important? Commas or growth? I think I'd rather have you grow. That's my opinion. Are we okay so far? So this is important because especially if you work in government schools where there's 40, 50 kids in a class, you're not going to have time to check every little thing and cross out every little comma and period. This is why they often don't write here. Also, sample marking, what is that? You guys forgot already?
Choose only one or two people.
Yes. You guys know what sampling is. You took my class, right? Sampling. So let's say you have 40 kids. You can't read all 40 papers. You read like 5 of them because you guys all make the same mistakes. I mean, you're not that unique. I mean, you're not that special. I mean, you guys all screw up the same way. You know, it's not like, you know, there's some mystery to that. And so by sample marking, you read a handful to help the many. That's how it works. I do this more in Comp 2. You know, often that class has 25 students. Everybody's writing a paper that's, 4, 5, 6 pages. I'll read 5 or 6, and I already know what everybody else is doing wrong. I'll say, hey, these are the problems that these are the mistakes everybody's making. And so I teach to the whole class. And you know what? People's paper that I've never read, oh man, yeah, that's me. Did he read my paper? That's what happens. That is what happens. And so everybody gets feedback even if you didn't necessarily read their paper. These are shortcuts to provide opportunities for growth. All right? I think that is it. So before we go, talk to a friend and ask them what happened? What did we learn? And then we'll review and we'll leave. Okay, so why don't we just have each person share 1 or 2 things they learned today. Please make sure you're coherent and cohesive, right? All right, we'll start with Sopat. Sopat, What did you learn? Give us one or two things you learned today.
Yeah, learn about my idea and supporting detail.
Okay, I guess that works.
Yeah.
Now, Ray.
When you write supporting details, you have to make sure you put like in addition, lastly, firstly, those kind of things.
Why do you have to put those?
In order to make, in order to have cohesiveness.
Yes, all right. Now, Lynn.
Giving the feedback,
Okay, what kind of feedback, huh?
process feedback, and product feedback.
All right, cool. All right, May.
Nutrition is like better to guide them first than to lead them up in the wild.
In the jungle, right? You know, the jungle's off the coast of Saba, huh? Okay. All right. Rune?
My idea is support details should be the foundation of the first, and the second should be grammar, but we should not do together at a time.
But how come you shouldn't do them together? What's wrong with that?
Because it will lead them to confuse.
Oh yeah, the smoking brain and the crashing computer, something like that. Yes, yes. Okay, Sanisa.
About grading the different like process and what's the other one?
Product. Okay, so which one do you prefer?
Process.
But why? That's more work. You know process is more work, right? You have to read everybody's paper several times. Huh? So if you want to read everybody's paper several times, what do you do to do it quickly? How do you make it fast? Sample and or what else? Selective. All right. And Brenda.
When we write, we must include main ideas and supporting details, and it must be direct
Why does it have to be direct?
so that people will not confuse.
But doesn't that make people uncomfortable when you're direct? I mean, doesn't that make you uncomfortable? You look uncomfortable already. Huh? So tell me why in writing do you need to be direct?
We need to tell what we want to tell
Yes, but why?
because that's our main idea.
What is missing in writing that's not missing face to face?
Nobody.
Body language. The body language is missing, so we can't infer the meaning. All right, so we are done for today. So we will have the online activity this Wednesday. So please make sure you're ready for that. Other than that, there's no homework. All right. So thank you very much for coming. I will see you on Wednesday. Yes.
Sir, the last meeting with student is yesterday.
Yes, that was just to say goodbye. You know. So hopefully you met with your student and you concluded your teaching. So no more out of class teaching.
So do we have lesson plan for that one?
No. It was just to say,
Bye-bye.
goodbye. I'll miss you so much, right? Okay, I wanted to make sure you had a chance to say, goodbye. So that's all you did that. All right. So thank you for coming. I will see you on Wednesday.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All right. You want to? All right, take care. Thank you. Yes, all right. You must put what you're trying to do on paper before you worry about the full stop. Okay. Stop live.